Hey traders, TG Watkins here, and let's see, it is January 19th when I'm recording this. It's Friday, so the market has just closed. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoy your upcoming weekend. Over here, you can check out Profit Pilot Twitter, I guess X now, if we're going to be calling it that. So anyway, been posting quite a bit. You know, tech and the semis have definitely been kicking off, and we have been getting our share of it. PSTG was a really great trade. We're still in it, and yeah, this thing looks pretty great. So happy with that one. And then other names like CELH, I just want to show you guys some of these because these are some of the things that I point out in my trading room, the Moxie room. And one of our subscribers asked me like, hey, what do you think about this? And I drew a line and I said, kind of looks to me like it could use a pullback. And sure enough, maybe there was news or something, but man, talk about a pullback that's more of a just an immediate drop like that. And then the other thing I want to point out here is look at RSP. This is the equal weight of the SPY, and notice that it perfectly pulled back to that trend line. So let's kind of dive into a few charts and we can talk about these things. So first off, I want to show you, this has been a thing that I've been following closely because it's kind of telling us what's happening to the market underneath the surface. And we could see, you know, the number of stocks over the 20-day and 50-day were just absolutely pegged to the upside, and there was no more place for prices to go, especially coming into the end of the year. And so they needed to build in some room in order for that to work. Now, you can see that this thing did get down to about 30%. Historically, it likes to go a little bit further, but you can see right here it has found a low for now and bounced. So we need to see if this thing can keep going. I have a feeling, so for as much as the indices are up, underneath the surface, I'm still not seeing a ton of participation. Right now, it's pretty much tech and semis, and you know there are a fair number of names that are going, but we're not seeing something like the IWM really wake up. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But I have a feeling we might spend a little bit more time down here, and there's a possibility we might need to get that one to work off just a little bit more on the 50-day. But we'll dive into that. So let me kind of then show you and go through some stuff. You know, you can see here, I'm just looking at Squarespace. Yeah, not too bad, right? That looks like that is a nice bull flag. So at some point, I think Squarespace is going to be probably a nice trade. So here is the S&P making new highs. Very, very exciting. And this is, if you guys go to my Profit Pilot website or YouTube, you can see the market video that I just put out, I think it was yesterday. And I said, you know, the fact that we actually had price here, and I was talking about some day trade setups that occurred yesterday, and I said, well, actually, the fact that price kind of held the daily 21 and we're back up might actually mean that this market is very strong as far as the indices, and that we could actually go sideways to fix the overbought condition as opposed to going down to test the 50. So that's what that pretty much looks like. I said that because the NASDAQ was looking pretty good too, and I figured that the IWM had probably already made its pullback. So I'll show you guys what I'm looking at there. But you can see here it's held the 21 pretty nicely. We did get some divergence right here, and now price is leading the indicator just by a little bit in this situation. So I have a feeling that at some point we will get a little bit of a pullback somewhere around here, and basically I would say buy the dip. I mean, it is really hard to ignore what's going on here to say anything else, but at this point, yeah, buy the dip and see if that works out for you for the SPY. We can look at the NASDAQ, and it kind of did the same thing. And there you go. There's the Moxie price trigger. Good firing today. And so it's a little extended. Let's see if there's any sort of pullback intraday, and that might provide a good opportunity. But yeah, you can see there's your positive divergence. That meant this was an inverse trampoline move. And how do you fix that? Well, you fix it by coming down and testing moving averages. And you can see here it also bounced right off of the daily 21. So as far as the charts go, looking pretty nice in through there. The RSP, you know, if we look at this, kind of show you some things that are going on here. So you can see that if you draw a line right in through there, if I can draw that better, it was much better on my other one when I had straighter lines to work with, but you can see right in through there, it came down and tested that previous one. You could even say, if you go sideways, you can see right in through there, it came in and also tested support. So yeah, even the RSP, the equal weight S&P, has found some support. It's not out of the woods. I mean, this is just trying to move up across a downtrending moving average, and the Moxie indicator is still below zero. So it's got some work to do, but this might have been its low, and now it just kind of needs to hammer it out and then start changing directions to the upside. If we look at the IWM, you can also see that, yeah, just like the RSP, because it's more of an equal weight ETF. This is not out of the woods yet. It's not done. It's not in an uptrend, but it might be done going down. And part of the reason is, it's sitting right here on that previous price congestion area, price action. You can see the price is to the daily 50, and it's basically fixed its overbought condition. I mean, this was really, really overbought, and now it's come back down to possible support. But it still has work to do before we can really call this an uptrend. But I'm very happy to see that this is what's going on. This is what I've been messaging to those who are in the Moxie room. If you come over to breadth, I talked about this earlier, but that's kind of what we're looking for, is that we've at least built some room for price to now go back up again. We kind of took the froth off. Things have come down, and now we'll have to see how quickly this can start to turn back to the upside. And then the other thing I want to show is if you look at this TNX, this is basically the interest rates. Another reason why the IWM is not and the RSP are not really taken off yet is because this is still actually moving up. You can see right here it's still moving up. So interest rates going up. I mean, the market is basically inversely correlated to the TNX right now, and it follows it closely. So when we had the really, really strong thing in November, December, and everything was running, look at what the TNX was doing, So something like that. But then we kind of got oversold, and it bounced up, which meant the market got overbought, and it's pulling back. So I would kind of watch this closely and see how the TNX and the IWM and all those small caps kind of relate to this and how that happens. Now, another thing, I just want to show you a lot of stocks. As we talk about this, you look at Roku, a lot of stocks have pulled back to their daily 50. Like I showed you with that breadth indicator, a lot of stocks are doing that. We had really across the board, there were fantastic signals using the Moxie indicator to say, hey, you better get out of this thing. Now, something like Roku, I've been watching it. We are seeing some divergence coming into it. I do think that this thing will be bullish eventually because I do like what's happening on the higher time frames, and really, it is in an uptrend. I mean, it's hard to deny. It just is ebbing and flowing inside of its channel. So we just have to figure out where the low is, and if you want to trade Roku, it probably is setting up fairly soon. Then you can see like something like KMX. Just unrelated charts. I'm just trying to show you guys some of the action that I've seen that's been pretty consistent out there. And you can see how it also pulled back to its daily 50. Now, the trick is I would be looking bullish on a lot of these things because I think that most of these are pullbacks in uptrends, not just downtrends. Because look at the direction of the daily 50 and where is the Moxie indicator. So I do think that somewhere around here is probably going to end up being the low, and I want to see if they kind of hammer out a bottom and then they start to move up from there. So it's really great to be seeing this. It's been, not a whole lot of bullish trades while this has been happening. So I think we're 2-3 weeks into January, and we're only just now starting to see the bottom. So okay, that's how it goes. You can look at Wayfair. Look what it did. Pulled back pretty hard. There was your Moxie price trigger. And look, we do have some divergence. So price down, Moxie indicator up right there. And oh, look what's happening today. Now, as I said, it's not in an uptrend yet. I still think some of these things have a little bit of work to do, but this is encouraging. I'm happy to see that Wayfair jumped up like this because that means I think it's turned around. And I think that it's going to start the process of beginning its next move, next trend to the upside. You can look at SoFi. Also, just look at this. The whole smattering of names that have been pulling back over the last few weeks, basically ever since the new year arrived. And this is where we look at that breadth reading and saying, yeah, we had to really build in some cushion. We couldn't keep going up like this, so we had to come back down, reset, and now I want to see if these things can start moving up. They're still very early. Maybe this is the bottom, but they're not in confirmed uptrends yet. So just need to give it a little bit more time probably. Carvana, this is another one, same thing. Look at these things. They've all pulled back. Just seeing a ton of them. And you know what? This could be the low, but it's going to probably take a little bit more work before these can be called definitive uptrends coming out of their pullbacks. Now, on the other side of things, how about the mega caps and the things that have been leading? Well, FNGU is the leveraged ETF of the FANG stocks, and we actually just went into this. It was a perfect entry. We went in yesterday right there. Just fantastic. And you could see that it was really doing kind of a nice flag in through here and did a little dip and then it recovered right there. And so that's why we went in. Very happy about this. Now, of course, you could trade the individual names, but this is a leveraged ETF. And so since I trade stock only, I like to look into things like this. So If you guys want to come into the Moxie trading room, then you would have been alerted that we were going to get into something like this, and you can enjoy a good trade on that one. GTLB, this is again with kind of the technology tech that's happening. And in through here, we had a nice little pullback, and then just like everything else I showed you with the NASDAQ and the S&P and all that, look what it did. It just pulled back into the hourly 50, Moxie indicator up, and there's your price trigger. So good stuff, you know, new highs, breaking out, all that kind of stuff. Very happy about this. But also look, notice how a lot of names pulled back right after the beginning of the year. The question is, which ones are leading? Like GTLB in this case, you know, it's leading the way compared to Wayfair or Roku or Carvana. Those names are still trying, but I do think eventually they will play catch up, and I still think that there will be lots more action to choose from. Probably once the TNX stops moving up, you know, probably once that burns off a little bit, you know, maybe done bouncing, and once the IWM really gets itself into gear. So we're seeing the first wave of movers, and I think that there will be, you know, call it a second wave or something, but I think that the laggers will eventually catch up. And then you can see there's another one, DDOG. You know, some other good names. Again, everything pulled back. It was just a matter of which ones needed just a little bit of a pullback and which ones needed more of a pullback. You know, which ones need more time and which ones are ready to go now. That's DDOG. Here's another one, DT, same thing. Deep pullback that went right smack to the daily 50, back up again, and you can also see here right to the hourly 50, and look at that Moxie indicator here, pretty nice, huh? And we also knew that this was likely to bounce off of that because look at the Moxie indicator here. So that's DT. And then another one was TER, since, you know, we're talking about all this semiconductor stuff. Now, I think this one has earnings coming up, but if, you know, it's your decision what you want to do about earnings, but look at that, nice double bottom, huh? You know, and then you could just see a little bit of a divergence right there with the Moxie indicator. And essentially, I would say this is flagging into the daily 50. It may not actually touch it, but, you know, that's pretty much what it looks like, is it jumped up, flagged, and looks like it wants to go higher. So, yeah, I think that there are a fair number of names to choose from, and I think that a lot of names have pulled back, starting to find that support, and clearly you can see they're starting to move up. But I think that since November, December was so darn bullish, we needed to build some room into the market, some cushion, and that's what you're seeing here. So hopefully that gives you a good rundown of what to be looking at and what to be expecting, and, you know, hopefully we are on to the next run to the upside. All right, everyone, thanks again, and we'll catch you at the next one.